Hello, everybody. So, welcome to the Transparency and Public Processes Committee of ANC3C. No binding decisions are reached at the committee level. Anything we do here will be, if it passes out of committee, will be referred to uh, the ANC as a whole. And because today, we'll be dealing with bylaws. The rules that our bylaws must be read publicly at the ANC meeting a month prior to adoption. And so any changes that we go over today, which will just be about the boundaries, we'll do, and then have the reading at our October meeting, and then the vote in November if all goes according to plan. So welcome everybody. It's a bigger crowd than I expected tonight, given the dryness of the subject matter. I'm going to share a link in the chat, which will take you to the proposed changes to the bylaws, and I'll go over them in just a second. If you're having any issues with the link, please click the reactions button and choose raise hand, and let me know. So, Janelle, would you do the honors of clicking that link and letting me know if it works for you? It obviously works for me, but
It did work for me.
great. Okay. So our current bylaws will be out of date as of January 1st, 2023. And so today we will be talking about the amendment to the description of ANC3C, the geographic description only, which is section 2 of our current bylaws. And I'll throw a link to our current bylaws as well in the chat. So the current bylaws are in the draft, or at least section 2 describing the location of ANC3C. Can take a look, and then the proposed changes I dramatically copy and paste from the the law that passed council and was signed by the mayor describing ANC3C. So I see Bob Ward is here. I believe he was on the Ward 3 redistricting committee, which amended the geographic descriptions of all the ANCs in Ward 3 due to the population growth we experienced over the past decade. So yeah. Okay, it looks like it's just the three of us. Anyhow, you want to take a look and see if you have any questions, comments, concerns? I see, Bob, you've put some comments in. Rock Creek, thank you.
Yeah, when I was reading through it, there were some things missing.
Oh, really? Okay.
I pasted the text from the law in a comment.
Okay. Thank you.
It was
Springfield Lane. Yeah.
That was one, and then I think there was another one as you where's the
I'll admit, I did not actually copy and paste. I read it and did it. I probably should have copied and pasted.
Yeah, so right where it says then along the northern boundary of Dumbarton Oaks Park.
Mm-hmm.
Before there, I think there's something that goes along Whitehaven Street.
Okay, give me a second.
But it may just be safer to like copy the text in this whole.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do right now. So
I copied that right from the law. Like,
yeah, I'm just going to do
not
this.
me type copied, but select copy.
Yeah. See if that works. Okay. I'm going to delete the NWs because that is redundant. Great. Does that show up for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And then the other thing was, I think the law takes effect January 2nd.
Okay, that's a good. Yeah, that was as you saw in my comments. That was one of my questions. It's pending with the Office of ANC. Let me pull one of the issues is both of the acts I was able to find expire. The latter expires October 22nd.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yes, and
They
so
did an emergency law so that the BOE could actually draw the districts and get the petitions out in time.
Mhm.
And then there was a permanent law, which will obviously last longer than the 90 days. But the two links you had were two different emergency laws.
Exactly, and that they are, at least as of a month ago, they were both in effect at the same time. And the latter did not include any language saying it supplants the prior, and they did not appear to be different. There's got to be some difference in them. They're different length. I noticed that the spacing was slightly different in going through 3C's individual commission boundaries.
You didn't do your compare PDF, find what's different?
I do not have that talent or skill. Or
Oh, I
possibly
found that
even
on the
technology.
internet somehow. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure it's
really?
right. Yeah,
Okay.
because I was at some point too lazy to find the difference in like an RFP one time.
I didn't know there was a compare PDF.
Yeah.
I'm glad I logged on tonight, guys.
Yeah, more you know, right?
I put Will Singer's email in the chat. He was Silverman's legislative director and
Great.
wrote the law.
Okay.
He might be able to explain pretty quickly, like which is which,
Great.
and what the differences are.
I'll get him on that email chain I have going. So the boundaries, you guys don't see any issues other than Bob. Thanks for catching the lack of complete pasting. I mean, this should be non-controversial, given that it's the law and we just have to comport with it. But yeah, anything? Bueller?
Put how to compare the PDFs in the link.
Ah, thank you. So let's see.
Additionally, let me Google that for you.
I am a huge, let me Google that for you, sender of links. I used to torment an old boss with that. He'd ask me like, "Hey, what's the address of the conference center in Tulsa?" And
Let me get my research assistant to Google on that.
exactly, and and he'd send me that question in email, so I would send back a "Let me Google that for you" link.
Adam, you've joined us at a very exciting time of just updating, correcting the not correcting, but updating the bylaws for the new boundaries.
Future-proofing the bylaws for
welcome.
the decade to come. It's very
If you
exciting.
ever need any help with Tulsa, my friend lives in Tulsa, so I was very unfortunately had to visit her in Tulsa, and I will never go back.
I have a couple good friends from law school who are in Tulsa, and my wife and I are talking about going to visit them at some point. I enjoyed Tulsa. I've only been there once, and it was for work, but I managed to find some fun parts of town.
I got delayed at the Tulsa airport for 3 hours, and there was nothing for me to do, so that kind of fueled my
That's fair.
hatred of Tulsa.
I can't remember if it was Tulsa or Topeka that had a pretty aggressive pandemic work from here strategy.
Topeka, I remember that.
It was Topeka. Okay.
Yes. They were offering like tax incentives, and they were basically paying people to come.
Yeah.
So Adam, if you want to see what this looks like, I just put it in the chat again.
Okay.
Bylaws that we're just copying and pasting the written boundaries from the law on. And by we, Bo's doing it.
But yeah, thank you, Bob, for putting Will's email address in there. I'm wondering if Will is who I met on election day during the primary, but I'll find out.
Oh, I think it is actually. Maybe don't reach out to Will.
Who's Will?
One of Councilmember Silverman's.
Oh, I met Will at one of those meetings at the library.
Yeah. Okay. So The official membership of the committee is just me and Janelle right now. As you know, ANC commissioners, we do not have any non-commissioner folks on this committee. We could, but we do not currently. Perhaps the new ANC, should they see fit, could do so. But Janelle, are you okay with advancing these? With the pending question of which the law is appropriate to cite to, moving it forward to our full commission in October?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Well, that unless there's any other business, that concludes our agenda for this evening. Anything?
That's efficient.
Yeah, anything anybody wants to talk about in terms of public processes, transparency, anything like that?
You guys set up 3 committees over the last 2 years, and yet we have another one that just is sort of operating undefined.
Yes. We've got the transparency and public processes, the transportation equity and sustainability, and the grants committees. We also have a planning and zoning committee that has not been created according to any of our processes. It is sort of Adam, I don't know how familiar you are with the history. I know Bob is familiar, and Janelle is too. It's been a committee. It's been around for a long time. There does not seem to be any operating or authorizing resolution by the commission. There's nothing in our bylaws about it. One of the reasons this committee was created was that we asked the prior chair, Nancy McWood, chair of ANC3C, if I could get a copy of our rules, because our bylaws cite rules, and she said she had the rules, but then she didn't have them, and she didn't think a committee was necessary, and our bylaws were actually not conforming with DC law. So that was something we set up to start, and she objected strenuously to the creation of this committee, at least internally. But yeah, so now we have this committee to try to just clean up our bylaws, and we did a good job, I think, back in October of 2021, but there hasn't been much to do since then. Now with the new districts, which I know you're familiar with now because you're running. Congrats on running, and congrats on running unopposed. That's been my preference personally, but it's worked out well for me. But the bylaws I think are in good shape, but there is nothing in them, and I'll throw a link again to our bylaws. There's nothing in them on specific committees, which is something that we could consider.
Well, I thought there was something in there in that you had to set up the committee via a process of going to the entire commission.
Yes, there is that. Yes, but we don't have any standing committees, and because we don't have commission rules, so we have a reference to commission rules that goes to nowhere, because we don't have, as far as I know, other than Robert's rules, we do not have any rules. And Robert's rules does not say there needs to be a transportation committee, a public processes committee, any committees. So, this is something we could put on. I could set up a meeting for either later this month or early next month so that we could talk about the committees, and then perhaps enshrine some of the existing committees into our bylaws and remove reference to our rules. It's something that I think we chatted about late last year, but I'm happy to pursue that too.
I mean, the way you guys set up the 3 committees last time was by resolution. So, I mean, assumably someone puts together a binder and puts those 3 in it, and there's the making of your rules.
Yes, that's if we want to go the rule route rather than enshrining them in the bylaws, which I think might be a better way to do it. But then you need to have commissioners who are interested in maintaining those committees.
Yeah, and one of the things that the resolutions did, which means you probably have them anyhow, is who's on it, right?
Yes.
Who's going to chair it? If they're going to be members of the public in addition to commissioners who are all on each committee, who are they?
And and that's something that I'd want the rules or bylaws to state out, going through what that process is. That to the commission as a whole would vote on who is chair of whatever committee, and that person clearly, according to DC law, does not need to be a member of the ANC, and then that person serves as chair of that committee until either they choose not to during that term, or the commission chooses to remove them as chair. I think that would be, having a removal process would be important too. But that's something I'd be interested in pursuing, especially because I think that ANC3C really needs a housing committee, perhaps to replace or complement the work of the Planning and Zoning Committee. And I think having these committees would be quite helpful in terms of, as we saw with the Transportation Committee, especially with bringing in people who want to engage in the community and want to engage with their ANC and don't really know how. It's a really good gateway drug to get hooked on ANC. So.
Well, let's not put that in anything.
I mean, it's recorded. I'm okay saying that.
I think, now that you say that, I think there's a lot of there with like aligning with what's going to be coming out in the design guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
And not just have it be so. 1C, I feel like, has a good title on their committee, or somebody does, where it does include housing and this and that and the other thing, that kind of looks at it a little bit more holistically than just reviewing applications on somebody's pergola in their backyard.
Right. Yes, housing. Yeah, would have to do, I think, more with zoning. It would have to do with I think tenants' rights. It would have to do with condition of buildings. If people are having issues that they're not able to resolve with their property owner, or with their co-op, bringing it to the attention of the housing committee, because having a local bastion or local set of expertise and where you can share, I think, will be very helpful. And at least, in the case of Quebec House, which has rampant mold issues in both the north building and the south building, getting that on the record.
Yep.
So yeah, I like this idea of committee stuff. I will send an email to our commission about this, saying, hey, this came up at the meeting, let's consider formalizing. We do need 2/3 majority to pass changes to the bylaws. So it's 6 votes at a full commission of 9 people. I think that there was some reticence when we talked about a little more creative changes to the bylaws last year. There was resistance to do that from, I think, 4 commissioners, which would make these proposals dead in the water for now. But
you're speaking outside of like the quorum of the meeting. We have to have
no,
quorum plus.
No. It's 2/3 of quorum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, which
my bigger concern is getting everybody there. If it was like the full commission.
Yes. It's not getting everybody there.
I mean,
I believe, and I will double check.
5 people's quorum and 2/3 is 3. I mean, right?
No, 2/3 is 4, because 3 is 60%.
That's 4, right?
Yeah.
Good thing I don't do math for a living.
Famed mathematician Bob Ward. So yeah. So.
Oh wait, I do.
The idea that these ideas, I think, would be good. If anybody wants to help me in drafting anything along these lines in terms of like a committee process, I'd appreciate it. I can start a new Google document pretty quickly and let folks know. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are at 20 past the hour. Adam, I do want to meet you at some point before election day. But yeah, I'm glad you could join us this evening.
No problem. And I also do math for a living, and I thought it was 3. So.
Oh God. I use Google also for math problems, and I don't do math for a living, so I feel better. You know, you can just put it in the Google search bar. I'm teaching you guys so much, I feel like, today.
Yes, but then the order of operations issue comes into play with Google. But I don't think any of us are doing that. Well, any of us who rely on that sort of specificity would be doing so in Google search bar. But okay, I think we can adjourn, and I appreciate everybody being here on this dreary evening. I know there are a lot of fun things to be doing on a Tuesday night, and thank you for joining this particularly eventful evening. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank
all.
you.
And
Yeah.
Thanks for
thank
the
you for
enrichment,
doing
Joelle. I mean, Joelle. Janelle,
not just math, Bob. It's not just
not
math.
just math.
All right, I'll have
Seriously,
a great night.
first beer.
it.
Good night.
Oh dear.
Take care.